If you're within 5 years of retirement, or you've retired within the last 5 to 10 years, and you're wondering how all of the different pieces can be truly integrated so that you and your family can live the life you've worked so hard for without stressing about the day-to-day of the financial details, then I'm going to show you how the puzzle of your financial life can indeed fit together to create a comprehensive whole which is greater than its disparate parts, thus enabling you to truly step away from the day-to-day grind, knowing exactly what the next chapter will look like, to have a specific plan for income that will allow you to maintain your current lifestyle, to manage risks to the portfolio from prolonged bear markets to unexpected healthcare or long-term care events, and everything in between, to have a holistic framework, not just for your investments, but for each part of your financial life, from taxes to insurance to estate planning and beyond, which allows these pieces to work with, not against each other. Now, you know you've done a good job of creating wealth and saving along the way, making savvy decisions which have allowed you to achieve the success you have. But now, you're wondering how exactly it all comes together once it's time for that wealth to begin working for you. You've probably saved a few million across your portfolio and perhaps even have some rental properties, but you're still concerned if it's enough, and if it is, how do we make sure that we don't take a misstep which could potentially bring it all down crashing into ruins? If you do have rental properties as part of your portfolio, even though they might be producing good income now, you might wonder what might happen if you decide to liquidate. And maybe it seems like all the advisors you've spoken with just want you to sell so that they can manage your investable assets. You don't want to make a significant mistake from some hidden tax law or unexpected change in the legal landscape, which could end up costing you hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in retirement, to say nothing of the legacy that you may hope to leave one day. And maybe you're worried about what might happen if you have an unexpected healthcare event and how that could affect your loved ones and your lifestyle. All of this can lead to feeling conflicted and even guilty over continuing to spend long hours at work due mostly to not having a plan, or watching video after video and reading dozens of different articles, which all seem to somehow tell you something a little different, which might or might not apply to you. In fact, you're probably wondering if the old rules do truly apply in today's market and legal landscape. Is it a certain income, or is it a certain portfolio number, and what about 4%, etc.? And you're probably feeling distracted even when you are able to take time away, wondering if you've thought through every single possibility. This isn't the ideal that you've spent the last decades working for. In fact, it can sap the joy that you do find in your work. You've spent year after year building a career and perhaps a company of which you can be justly proud. You've taken the path less traveled and experienced great success thus far because of doing so. And in addition to that, you've sacrificed time and time again for your family so that they could have a better life of human flourishing, sacrifices you never asked to be thanked for, but which took their toll nonetheless. You've put in those lonely hours when everyone else was off enjoying their diversions. And you find yourself still working in the vineyard when perhaps you've reached that age or are approaching it where you would rather enjoy its fruits, give the laborer his just pay. Now, if this describes you in whole or in part, the reason is probably because you do, in fact, want to retire into a life of fulfillment. But the simple fact of it is that you're just not quite certain of the most optimal way to do so. And if each new random article has left you less sure of your path than the last, shouldn't there be a better way? Many people reach this stage having assembled an interesting collection of financial products that they got because somebody along the way had said it was the way to go. And most retirement advice tends to follow the same pattern. Here's an impersonal fact which applies to the majority of retirees, so it probably applies to you too. After all, nothing personal against target date funds, but isn't that particular set of investment products based on this exact philosophy? How do they know about you, your goals, your story, and the chapters that you have left to write? Is this random assortment of facts, numbers, and investment products really the best way to make one of the most momentous decisions of your lifetime? I posit that it is not, and that there is, in fact, a much better way. A way that allows you to write your story and to do so confidently, knowing that you're making responsible decisions while being a good steward of your wealth. A way that allows you to sleep more peacefully at night, knowing that you have a partner who's traveling with you as you undertake the next chapter of your saga. And that is exactly why we created the Quill and Ledger process, to embody this better way. After helping hundreds of clients over the last 7 years to plan for and successfully live out their retirement goals, we distilled that knowledge into a system which is part science, part art. We've named this system the Quill and Ledger Process. The Quill and Ledger planning process is designed to allow you to write the story of your retirement, living those principles which you've practiced your whole life, and to do so within a structure backed by rigorous financial analysis and risk-based forecasting. We created this system to help you live out your dreams in confidence, knowing that there is a framework of checks and balances behind those dreams to make sure you never venture too close to a nightmare scenario where you run out of money. Now, as we've said many times before on our channel, your wealth represents but a means to an end. So any plan we would create for you begins always with the end in mind, and the decisions we make as we put that plan into action are guided by those goals. Our clients often tell us that this could mean spending more time with family, traveling the country and the world to take in different sights, sounds, and cultures, being able to gift charitably in order to leave the world a better place, and perhaps to leave an inheritance for those we care about, so that the next generation too can live a life of abundance. Combining those elements into a comprehensive whole is exactly where the Quill and Ledger process comes into play. This is the exact system that we've used to help clients like Tammy, who's been a client of ours since 2019, and was able to understand what her retirement money was actually doing for her, rather than feeling adrift in a sea of doubt. Or Jim, who, after having worked with us for a number of years, is grateful that we're just a phone call away to help him and his goals weather the good times and the not so good times that inevitably come up. Or Cindy, who's grateful that we've helped navigate her and her husband through all kinds of financial situations, and says we always leave the conversation feeling confident with the options and decisions we've made with them. Now, if we haven't had the pleasure of meeting before, I'm John Norberg, MBA, a certified financial planner and founder of Norberg Wealth Management. And to give you an idea of how Tammy, Jim, and many others, including Cindy and so many dozens of others, hundreds of others like them, came to be exactly where they are today, I'd like to share with you the details of what all goes into our process. Our Quill and Ledger process covers 5 distinct areas of planning. If we were to consider your financial plan like composing a symphony, we would want to think about how each section of the orchestra, the strings, the brass, the percussion, etc., all fit together, each playing their part to make a glorious harmony of financial coherence. So too with your financial plan. We want tax, insurance, estate, investment planning, etc. to each play according to the same sheet of music, rather than each playing its own theme, which would likely cause a cacophonous dissonance. Not exactly what you want when you only have one chance to get this right. So the first step is income architecture. We begin by mapping out the foundation of your retirement, the income streams that will sustain your lifestyle. This involves sequencing the guaranteed sources you may have, such as pensions, annuities, social security, etc., alongside variable income or business distributions, and aligning each to minimize the sequence of returns risk. We stress test this design against the actual market volatility, inflation, and longevity risk that come into your plan, ensuring that the income plan remains stable across multiple economic scenarios. And by intentionally structuring which dollars are used and when, we can potentially reduce the pressure on your portfolio in down markets and increase efficiency in favorable ones. This isn't a spreadsheet exercise, it's a dynamic model built to adapt as your life unfolds, giving you the clarity to spend with confidence while protecting your long-term security. Step 2 is investment alignment. Your investments aren't just numbers on a page. In fact, they're the notes without which that symphony would be impossible. We analyze the investment picture considering 4 key aspects: performance, risk, fees, and taxation. all while filtering this through the framework of your goals, that is, the symphony you wish to write. We make sure that your investments are optimized for your retirement as well as for your personal values. We stress test this portfolio to help ensure that our suggested withdrawal strategy is able to weather whatever storms the market may throw at it, such that it safely arrives at its final goal. The right alignment ensures that your assets are working with your retirement story, not pulling against it. The third step is risk containment. When planning for retirement, you already know that a host of risks threaten your dreams and your goals. Insurance, when applied with precision, helps to provide predictability to your retirement journey. This step is about safeguarding your plan from the unexpected, market volatility, health events, or other costly disruptions. We look at different strategies from a host of different providers, including the option of self-insurance, discussing the plausibility and advisability of each strategy, in tandem with your overarching goals that we're protecting for. We treat this aspect of planning as a calculated layer of defense, so that the story you're writing isn't suddenly rewritten by forces completely beyond your control. The fourth step is tax positioning. Taxes are one of the few certainties that we face in retirement, but overpaying them doesn't have to be. In this step, we examine every income stream, investment account, and withdrawal pattern through the lens of tax efficiency. That includes sequencing withdrawals between taxable, tax-deferred, and tax-free accounts to minimize your lifetime tax burden, not just your bill this year. In fact, sometimes we end up paying more in one year so that over our lifetime we can pay less. We look for strategic opportunities like Roth conversions during lower income years, capital gains harvesting, and bracket management to prevent creeping into a higher marginal rate. If selling a business is part of your retirement plan, as it is for many of our clients, we examine numerous different strategies for mitigating the large capital gains bill which typically coincides with such a sale. For charitably inclined clients, we can implement a qualified charitable distribution or donor-advised fund strategy directly to impact those charities which they favor best. In fact, for QCDs, we often establish a dedicated QCD account with a checkbook attached. This allows you to write donations directly to qualified charities, potentially bypassing taxable income entirely while still satisfying the required minimum distributions. Every tax move is stress tested within your larger plan to ensure it aligns with your income needs, investment growth, and legacy goals, so your generosity and your efficiency work hand in hand. Now, the fifth step is legacy structuring. We often find that our clients, when they sit down with us, are likely to end up with significant wealth at the end of their plan. This is why the final step looks to a time when you don't need these dollars anymore, shaping how your resources will be preserved and passed on. This is more than checking a box to make sure you have a will. It is a comprehensive estate plan review that integrates beneficiary designations, trust frameworks, and tax-conscious transfer strategies. We analyze how your assets will flow through the legal and financial system, working to anticipate bottlenecks such as probate delays, unnecessary taxation, legal charges, or disputes. We're not lawyers, but we work with a number of good ones we can refer you to, or if you already have one, we can help work with them too. In fact, I was just meeting with a client of ours earlier this summer. He's a retiring business owner, and as a result of this step, we were able to save their family from potentially hundreds of thousands in probate and estate fees, in addition to a possible fight amongst their heirs when we reviewed their will in detail. And it all came down to two simple things we were able to point out as part of our planning process. How many other advisors do you know who do that? By aligning your estate plan with the broader framework of your retirement goals, we ensure that the principles of good stewardship and responsibility by which you've lived are carried forward with intentionality and efficiency. Legacy structuring is where the personal and the technical meet. It's a careful design that protects not just wealth, but the meaning behind it. All right, so now that you've seen the 5 steps of the Quill and Ledger process, you have 3 paths that you can take from here. The first is that you could choose to do nothing, but as you've seen in retirement planning, inaction is still a decision, and it often comes with the highest cost: missed opportunities, wasted years, and continued stress, which is only likely to worsen the longer you continue in this vein. Secondly, you could take what you've learned and work with someone else. And if they follow a process as comprehensive, coordinated, and tested as this one, you'll still be ahead of most. But to be honest, I've been in the industry for a while, and the sad fact is that there aren't many advisors like that, which is why we've published this video. Or your third option, you can decide to have my team and I help you implement this system. You've just seen exactly how we approach retirement planning, not as a loose set of ideas, but as a structured, proven system that blends the art of your life story with the science of financial planning. The Quill and the Ledger. If you want that level of clarity and confidence behind your retirement, we would love and would be honored to be of help. When you work with us, you will receive a full written financial plan, backed by rigorous analysis and Monte Carlo simulation, running it through 1,000 different permutations that the market could potentially take over the next several decades. This also comes with a one-page financial plan executive summary, which our clients have told us that they love because it draws out the most high-impact items into an easily digestible and implementable format. As part of this, you'll also receive a full income projection on a year-by-year basis, allowing us to see when and where to plan for dips and spikes, as well as where to apply different tax efficiency tactics. This plan will also take into account Social Security maximization strategies, which, when coupled with a strategic approach to portfolio withdrawal rates, often allows our clients to retire sooner than they thought possible. You'll also receive a full investment portfolio recommendation, complete with stress testing based on major market events which have actually occurred, so that you can see what could happen if we relived, say, another 2008 great financial crisis. Now, speaking of planning for the what-ifs, we also analyze the insurance policies that you hold to see if they still make sense and recommend options for unprotected risks we find in the plan. We also review your recent tax returns as part of a holistic planning process, which is integrated into the overall financial plan. We consider tax loss harvesting, Roth conversions, and tax-efficient investing recommendations. And if you have a business, we can help with exit planning as well. We also review your estate and trust documents so that we can ensure they align with your ultimate goals for when you no longer need these resources. And finally, we also look at charitable giving strategies, which, when coupled with these other elements, can allow you to continue to serve as a steward of your resources while impacting the world for good. So now that you've seen the structure, the depth, and the thinking that goes into the plans that we build here at Norberg Wealth Management, if you want that same clarity, confidence, and protection for your retirement, click the link and you'll be guided towards a brief questionnaire, which is the first step towards implementing the Quill and Ledger process, allowing us to see where you are today and begin working towards your tomorrow. I'm grateful to you for taking the time to watch this video. Thank you, and in the meantime, I'll see you out there.